So Simon has the wonderful job of introducing our next beautiful storyteller, Jonathan Crook.
Jonathan Crook moved and grew up in Westchester, New York, and is well known for his telling of his solo shows of the Sleepy Hollow and oh no, I can't think of the other one. I can't think. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, which is pretty good for someone that was born in Texas. He studied at Holy Cross College and at New York University, and has watered Henry Kissinger's flowers, which I need to talk to him more about because that sounds absolutely fascinating. Jonathan Crook is a gifted storyteller, and we're very happy to have him here on our show. Thank you, Jonathan. We're looking forward to hearing your story of the Ice Queen.
Once upon a time, when wishing worked, but it was still better to have a heart filled with hope, a demon emerged, jealous of that hope, wishing to destroy it. Thus, he concocted a mirror. Oh, it caused anyone who looked in it to see, well, not just their smile, but their warts. And the demon took such delight in showing off the mirror to his students, he'd cry out, "Oh, look at that one over there, who thinks that they look so fine, but now, when they hold up that mirror, they'll see how everyone has ugliness in them." Well, of course, the demons, being good students, took note, and being demons, they went sneaking into the lair of the head demon, and they pilfered that mirror and began to run around with it. One of them got the notion that, why don't we go up to the heavens and make the angels look into this mirror, and they'll see how ugly all the souls are who they try to protect. Why, they might even see how ugly they are. Thus, the demons began to rise into the sky. But the closer they got to the heavens, the heavier grew the mirror, until at length it dropped out of the demonic fingers and fell crashing to the ground, and the pieces splintered into billions and billions of specks, which were caught up in the winds and blown all over the earth. One corner of the earth, however, had not yet gotten, well, besieged by those specks of the mirror that made things ugly. This was a place far in the northern wilds of Europe, a village where the houses huddled together as if to keep them safe from the cold. Now, one afternoon, a couple of families who had planted on their gutters window boxes with roses let their children go up to play. Kai climbed out of the window and onto the roof, and Gerda climbed out of her window and onto her roof, and bunk! Whilst sniffing the roses, they bumped heads and looked up and laughed. And thus their hearts opened, and they became deep friends, better than a brother and sister. And often they would meet on the roof and smell the roses and share stories and even bump heads again. But they always laughed until one of those shards from the demon's ugly, horrific mirror blew into the eye of Kay. "Oh, what's in my eye?" And when he blinked, he said, "Gerda, what are you looking at? Why are you staring at me? Your face looks twisted when you stare." "Oh, I'm sorry. How do I look when I'm smiling?" "Ah, you still look a little twisted." "Huh?" And Gerda felt so hurt by this remark she didn't know what to say. "Look at that stupid flower box sitting on the gutter." And Kai, why, Kay kicked it, and it It exploded and fell down. Well, Grandmother cried, "Kay, what are you doing? What are you kicking?" "Oh, Grandma, what am I doing? What am I kicking?" He imitated her voice in a mocking way, and he did the same when he went out to play with some of the other boys and girls. He would mock them and imitate them, and everyone said something's happened to him. And he said, who cares? I'm the way I want to be. Well, Gerda said, "You can be much better. I don't want to be." And he continued that way through the summer and into the fall, and when the snowflakes came. They seemed to be the only things amusing Kay now. He used to like to stare at them, and sometimes he would even hold up a magnifying glass and peer at them as they collected on the windowsill, and he would say, "They're all different, like bees. I wonder if they have a queen. I wish I could meet her." You'd best be careful when you make a wish, especially in a Hans Christian Andersen tale. Oh, it may come true. Well, when winter came thick and fast and filled with those falling snowflakes, and some decay seemed to grow enormous, he got drawn outside with his little sleigh. He joined some of the other boys in hooking up their little sleighs with a rope to bigger sleighs pulled by horses, and they would whip around the little streets. Kay attached his sleigh to a magnificent white sleigh pulled by snow-white stallions, commanded by an elegant figure dressed in white fur. Oh, not polar bear, ermine. Her face was so white it almost looked blue, and she had a royalty about her. But above that, she had a coldness within her. Ah! And she made her horses run, and they went shring, 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 right out of the little village. Kay didn't come home that night, nor the next morn, prompting everyone to worry and mourn. "He's gone, he's dead. He hitched his sleigh. He shouldn't have done that. He must have fallen in the river." Well, everyone thought that must have been the case. They went to the river and looked, but found no sign of him. Some of the boys described how he had been taken away by a haughty-looking woman, and whispers filled the air. "The Snow Queen! The Snow Queen! Got Kay?" Well, one day, Gerda lifted her heart and wondered. Grandmother, she called Kay's grandmother like her own, what to do. Well, Grandmother was humming a little song, saying, "Roses bloom in the vale, listen for the Christ child's tale. You must hold hope. That should be your story. I hold hope that Kay is alive. I'm going to find him." And when at length spring came, she put on her fine, stiff leather shoes and quested off to find her Kay. She traveled along the river all the long day and asked, "Birds, birds, where's my Kay? Fish, fish, where's my Kay? Really don't know." Well, she happened upon a little boat, and she climbed into it, and it set sail, and she went down, and she wondered, "River, river, where's my Kay?" But the river only babbled and carried her, all the more slowly. "I know, I'll give the river a gift." And she slipped off her shoes and threw them into the river. "Now will you tell me?" But instead the river pushed the shoes back to our Gerda. And though wet, she put them back on, and when her feet were drying and she was drifting where there were no houses, at length she came upon a garden guarded by two rather steadfast-looking wooden soldiers, and when the wind made their arms blow about, really to ward off the crows, why, Gerda thought, "Oh, they're beckoning to me." She came to shore, and saluted the wooden soldiers, and looked about at the flowers bursting in a garden, every kind, from the aster to the rose to the zinnia. The rose made her think of Kay and weep. And then a voice creaked. Well, 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 now. Why do you cry now? Gerda looked up and clapped her eyes upon the form of an old woman, bent in half with age, with wrinkles in her wrinkles, and a great hat painted with flowers. Oh, I'm sorry. And then she told the tale that I've been telling you, no doubt even better. The old woman, who was a light witch, listened and thought, this is a sweet one. Why, I'd like her to keep me company like a daughter. But she'll be thinking of this Kay, I know. I'll make her forget. And so she did two things. She invited, listen to the stories of the flowers, Gerda. And whilst Gerda began to listen to the stories, from the aster to the zinnia, the old woman hid the one flower which would cause Gerda to remember her Kay. She turned the roses upside down. And when the tales ended, Gerda had all but forgotten about who am I looking for? But then the little forget-me-not whispered, don't forget. Look at the Light Witch's hat. And when Gerda did just that and saw a painted rose, the Light Witch had forgotten to hide. Oh, she cried again, my Kay, I must find him, I must go. And the Light Witch, feeling the warmth of Gerda's innocent heart, with tears in her eyes, let her go. And off continued Gerda. She heard then, caw, 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 one of those crows. He's in that castle, declared the crow. Well, Gerda went to the castle gate and knocked on the door. The guards at first said, Oh, you look nice. Would you like to come in and meet the prince and princess? Yes, especially the prince. Wonder if he's married. But he's just a boy. Young like me. Well, the crow proved wrong, but something proved right in that castle. The princess was lovely and gracious, and served Gerda a fine, wonderful meal, and gave her lovely clothes and a horse to draw a little carriage with a coachman. And the prince was, well, he looked like Kay, but he wasn't Kay. And Gerda told the tale I've been telling you, no doubt a little bit better. And when they listened with tears in their eyes, the prince and princess said, Oh, you must go find your fine Kay. And off went Gerda in that horse and carriage. She traveled far and wide and wide and far until she got surprised by a band of trollish thieves. They descended upon her, and they grabbed the horse, and they devoured it, and the coachman ran howling into the wilderness. And then the leader, an ogress with a beard, said as she pulled on her whiskers, She looks nut-fed. Let's eat her up. And then Gerda began to cry and say, Oh, please, please, there must be something better for you to eat than me. And that struck the heart, though it was rather hard, of the ogress with the beard's daughter, the little robber girl, who had no beard, but she had a whip and a pistol, and she was quick as a pistol, too. She said, I like this one. Let her be my playmate. And indeed, that's what happened after Gerda's tears. She became the playmate of the little robber girl. And the little robber girl shared everything. And Gerda shared her story, and the little robber girl loved the tale and got moved to tears and said, I'm going to have to set you free. It'll spite my mother, but I don't care. And thus she said, But where are you going? Well, I've got to find my Kay. I have someone who might know how to help you. I've heard the Snow Queen, who might still have your key, might live far to the north, even of the lands of the Laps and the Finns. Consult with my pigeons, they'll tell you. Well, Gerda went to the pigeons, and she gave them a kiss, and they said, oh yes, ask by the reindeer. And when Gerda asked by the reindeer, he said, oh, of course, I'm from the land of the Laps, I can bring you there and beyond, but I've heard the Snow Queen lives in a castle on Spitzenberg Island, far north of even our lands. But that's where Gerda determined to travel, and off she went. She traveled far and into the land of the Laps, but grew so cold she could barely move when she happened upon the hut of a Lappish woman, who said, come in, come in. And Gerda, of course, told the tale, and even though the hut of the Lappish woman was cold, the story warmed her heart, and she picked up a codfish and wrote something on it, and the next morning said, deliver this to my friend the Finnish woman. She'll help get you to the Snow Queen. Jumping onto the back of Bay, the big reindeer, Gerda rode far and wide and wide and far, until she was all but frozen, could barely uncreak her fingers off of the reindeer's reins. And she found the Finnish woman's house with a roof so low to the ground, why, you had to crawl on your belly to get through the snow and through the door. But inside 'twas as warm as it was cold. You see, the Finnish woman sat round a sauna. Oh, company, come and sit. What do you want? Well, Gerda presented the codfish, and the Finnish woman read it 3 times to be sure, and then she put it into the stew pot. I'll take care of you. My friend the Finnish woman said I shall. I shall listen to your story, too. And Gerda told the tale, and you know how well she told it. Oh, it moved the Finnish woman to tears, who gave Gerda some provisions and a kiss, and off went Gerda. Again she travelled far and wide, until at length she came to a place where summer, even in July, never touches, and there are no blooming roses, just sheets of ice. It was the Isle of Spitzenberg, and there stood a castle of ice with 100 halls howling with wind, yet not one hall even beckoned in the polar bears to dance. There wasn't even one room where the snow vixen foxes could have a bit of tea. No, nothing like that. It was the palace of the Snow Queen, and it was guarded by enormous snowflakes, who surrounded Gerda and attempted to freeze her unto her death. But Gerda, knowing not what else to do, found in her innocent heart a prayer and lifted it up. And the angels, whoosh, swept their fiery swords and scattered the snowflake legions of the Snow Queen. Now, the Snow Queen had cast a spell upon Kai. When she found him, she took him away, and at the river, when she found him cold, she said, oh, my Kai, my Kay, are you cold? And she kissed him, and at once he couldn't feel the cold. And then he said, who are you? I miss my friend Gerda. And the Snow Queen gave him another kiss, and our Kay, he forgot all about Gerda. If the Queen had given yet another kiss, he would have died an icy death. Well, the Snow Queen had gone to certain volcanoes to fill them with ice, but she left Kay under a spell. He was to puzzled together shards of ice to spell out the one word which would set him free. And he moved so slowly, his skin purple with cold. It looked as if he had already frozen to death when Gerda saw him, but the hope in her heart wouldn't let her believe that he was frozen to death. She ran over, put her arms around him, and her warm tears fell upon his cheeks, and when they did, it lifted away the purple. And when he clapped his eyes upon Gerda, why, tears found their way through the splinters from the demon's looking glass right into our Kay's eyes, and they brimmed over and washed out those ugly making splinters. And the two, they jumped and danced, but when they went to leave, they couldn't. Our Kay had not spelled out that word. Well, rejoicing in their dance were the sheets of ice upon a great lake there, rather like a Chinese puzzle. And they so enjoyed the reunion, the love between Kay and Gerda. They danced, and then they fell down in gales of, why, cool laughter, and they formed something cool, the word eternity. And when Kay said the word, the Snow Queen's spell broke, and the two went back. They found the reindeer bay, who had a friend who had milk, another reindeer, and they traveled back to the hut of the Finnish woman, who let them sit in the sauna. They went to the hut of the Lappish woman, and she gave them food, and then they happened along the way to find a young woman perched upon a fine pony with a pistol and sword at her side. It was the little robber girl, who gave them a little bit of gold, which got them past the light witch's house, and she tipped her hat with tears in her eyes and said, "That crow who got you wrong about Kai has gone somewhere, and you can go to your home." And she even gave them some roses. And at length, with summer waning, they returned back to their little village, where the houses huddled together as if to ward off the cold. And they went to grandmother's house, and when she put her eyes with a clap upon my grandson, Kay, my Kai, and Gerda, my granddaughter like, oh, she rejoiced and said, "Oh, and you know, the roses in the vale. Go, listen, and you'll hear the Christ child's tale." And they went and listened and remembered. You've got to be like a child to hear and feel the innocence of hope and its hold in your heart. And then they, together, bumped heads while smelling roses. And it was still late summer. And friends, that's my version of the Snow Queen. Thank you for listening.
That was excellent. I loved that. That was so nice.
Thank you, Simon.